Name?
Hi, I'm Kingsley Hamilton.
Oh, nice to meet you, mate. So can you please tell us what's going on here in London today? Why are you here for today?
So we're here to protest against the flawed and unfair ULEZ. Basically, it's the ultra-low emission zone is what it's being called, but it's terribly, terribly flawed. So people in a city are being told they need to sell their non-compliant cars, but where are they going to sell it to? They're going to sell it to somebody in the countryside. Well, that means that car's going to do even more mileage. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to work out that in the countryside, the public transport's not as good, the supermarkets and schools are further away, the train stations are further away, and buses finish at around 5, 6 o'clock in the evening. So that car that you've sold to the countryside is now going to be polluting more. Sadiq Khan said that he's doing all this for climate change and for clean air. Well, that car's polluting more. It's as if the atmosphere in the countryside is different to the atmosphere in London. It's rubbish. And when you talk about the actual flaws, so for example, a 2001 Nissan Micra that's non-compliant, but a 2018 Range Rover is compliant, that's got 5-litre engine, it doesn't make sense. You know, motorcycles that are before 2008 are non-compliant. They're non-compliant not because they're polluting, but because they can't prove that they're not polluting. Now, what I mean by that is there's no data on the logbook. The reason there's no data on the logbook is because there were too many zeros after the decimal point. The DVLA decided it wasn't worth recording the emissions data. Every other clean air zone in the country has said that motorcycles are exempt. In London, motorcycles are not automatically exempt. They have to have the data on the logbook saying their pollution is below a certain level. Post-2008, they all do say that, but pre-2008, they don't. Now, you might think that some motorcycles do pollute a lot. Think about what a motorcycle does. They don't sit in traffic like a car does. So a 10-minute journey takes 10 minutes. A 10-minute journey for a car might take an hour in traffic. So that motorcycle is not going to be polluting very much. And secondly, the ones that are going to be tested, they're all passing. But they're having to pay £170 to be tested, and that's grossly unfair. If we know that all motorcycles are passing the test, just exempt motorcycles, period. And that could actually be a really good solution to London's problems. But it's not, and Sadiq Khan's not listening to this. He's not listening to reasonable debate. He's not listening to vocal discussion from people, and he's not listening to the consultation where people said all this. You know, it's unfair. And it's not just the charge that's the problem, it's the penalty charge notice that you get if you don't know. So if you come out from outside of London, you don't know about the ULEZ, the first thing you know about it is a letter on your doorstep saying you've got to pay a penalty charge notice, 180 quid. Now, that's grossly unfair. Send them a letter and say, look, you're supposed to have paid this charge and you haven't. Here's a £12.50 charge and maybe a £5 administration charge because you didn't pay it on time and we've had to send you this letter. And people might go, all right, fair enough. I'll pay a £5 administration charge and next time I'll pay the charge on time or I'll deal with it. But the first thing they're going to know is this £180 penalty charge notice, £90 if you pay within 14 days. It's out of order, you know, and it's affecting nurses that are doing double shifts. So a night shift, you pay, if they have to do a night shift, they'll pay in the daytime £12.50. They'll pay £12.50 to get back home again. Okay, fair enough. They won't have to pay that every day because each is only a 24-hour period. But if they're doing a one-off night shift, it's taking £25 out of their wage packet. And a lot of nurses are being affected by this because they can't afford these fancy, wonderful cars. And when you talk about these fancy, wonderful cars that have got these super catalytic converters, let's not forget that crime is out of control in London and people are having their catalytic converters stolen from these compliant cars. So I don't want to buy a compliant car that's got one of these catalytic converters that's going to get stolen every 3 weeks. I can't afford the new car. So what do? Do I have to keep paying the £12.50 a day? I can't afford that either, you know. But if I sell my car, they're going to sell it to someone who's going to pollute more anyway. So the whole thing is just flawed and it just needs to start listening to people and it needs to be thought out a bit better. I'm all for clean air. Absolutely, I want clean air. But it's being done in a rushed manner and they haven't thought out the secondary unintended consequences. And that's the problem with ULEZ. It's all very well saying, this is my idea for clean air. But it's an idea. There are plenty of other alternatives that haven't been explored very well. Biodiesel, for example. But you can only use biodiesel in older diesel cars. And biodiesel is fantastic for the environment. You know, I used to run my Peugeot Boxer on biodiesel, and it was great. But you can't use that in the modern diesel cars. It has to be used in older diesels that don't have all these sensors on it, because the sensors say, "Oh, we don't like this fuel," and just shuts the engine off. But biodiesel can work in many other vehicles that are tuned for it. But we're missing an opportunity here. We're in such a rush to go electric, but we're also dismissing the concerns that people are raising. So children are being forced to mine for cobalt by their parents who've got no money. You know, and it's disgusting. But it's being swept under the carpet for this supposedly green agenda that's In an ideal world, it would be fantastic if we could have all electric cars that run from solar power or wind power, but that's just not going to happen. We haven't got the infrastructure for it. We're not ready for it. We're firing up coal-fired power stations to try and produce enough electricity because of all these electric vehicles that are coming out. Now, how the hell is that being better for the environment? It's not. You know, I love the environment. I do care for the environment. I'm not anti-environment at all. I'm rubbish. I'm anti-nonsense that's being forced through and rushed through without a consideration for secondary consequences. Now, imagine, this is my analogy of ULEZ. I want to make my house bigger, so I'm just going to extend the walls. If you just extend the walls, the ceiling collapses. You need to extend the walls and support the ceiling as well, okay? So what's happening with ULEZ is we're saying, take your car outside the city and sell it to someone outside the city, but it's polluting more. That's nonsense.
So do you think the Mayor of London should listen to the people and find a solution as soon as possible?
I think he should absolutely listen to the people, and this is the problem. I mean, I've been saying, look, you know, if you're doing a clean air zone or a ULEZ zone, it should be based on emissions that comes out of the tailpipe, not some computer-generated nonsense that says, oh, well, that car must be compliant, that car must not be. And the reason for that is people are buying new cars and not getting them serviced now. And the reason they're not getting them serviced is because every 3 or 4 years, they're saying, oh, you know, the goalposts are changing, your car's non-compliant. Now, let's not forget, the ULEZ was started in 2019 and some 2016 cars are non-compliant. So a 3-year-old car that's not compliant, people can think, well, what was the point in wasting all that money getting it serviced? You know, so people who are buying cars now, they know that Euro 7 is coming in 2025. We know the goalposts are going to change. So people who are buying new cars now are thinking, well, I'm not going to bother getting it serviced. And that's why you see 2019, 2020 plate cars smoking like hell. But because they're 2019 and 2020 plate cars, they're okay, they're compliant. But you've got your Y-Reg Volkswagen Sirocco that's been looked after meticulously and serviced every year, that's clean as a whistle, that's non-compliant because the computer says no. But you've got a 2019 plate that's smoking like hell, polluting like hell, because the bloke's not serviced it. He's not serviced it because there's no point in getting it serviced. It's a waste of money. So it's a flawed system.
Right, so I've seen a lot of people quite not happy with the Mayor of London, right? So what do you want the Mayor to do? What is the solution?
We want the Mayor of London to listen. People are desperate. I mean, I've actually been arrested for allegedly taking down ULEZ cameras. I can just clarify, I'm not guilty, I didn't do it. And I'm not guilty of the charges that have been put against me. But people are doing that, and they're doing it because they're desperate. They're desperate because they don't see any alternative, because they see that the Mayor is not listening, and they think, what else can they do? And that's why they're doing it. Like I say, I don't condone it, and I'm not encouraging it at all. And unfortunately, I've been falsely accused of it. But that's why people are doing it. They're just feeling they're not being listened to.
All right, thank you very much.